here we go, as the Joker would say, right? So we're live. All right, so episode 2, podcast 2 of PowerOfPC Gaming Podcast. Tonight's episode is gaming, or console gaming versus PC gaming. That's what we said we would talk about at the end of last episode. So yeah, man, let's hop into it. So I guess we could start off with just kind of talking about, well, I mean, really what I'm thinking is we'll talk about the pros and cons of each. And I guess we can start off with console gaming. So let's start off, let's start off with some positivity. So what are some pros to console gaming? Go.
So one thing, I know we discussed this obviously offline, but I mean, I'm going to reiterate what I said is, one thing that I was actually missing the most is just how easy it is to actually get into console gaming, meaning that it's just so plug and play. It seems like with PC, it's like you have to become basically a computer scientist in order to get into it. It's like if you really want to understand how to run your PC, you just more or less have to literally troubleshoot everything. You have to learn how to troubleshoot. You have to learn how to, if your computer breaks, then you have to learn how to fix it. It's like a car. I mean, so it's not just just plug and play like a console. So I do miss that a lot. I do miss just a couple of highlights here, and we can kind of dive into them. I miss the plug and play. I miss the fact that achievements were more or less not mindless, but they were more or less like an expectation. Because I do like achievements. I miss my score going up. I miss seeing that notification pop up, and now it's like almost I have to game for fun, which seems kind of weird to say, because what I mean, the whole idea around gaming is for fun. So but for me, those are the top 2 things. And then if I had to say a third thing, especially, I didn't really have so much of a hard time, but especially sometimes I do miss how simple a controller is to use, because you don't have to learn a bunch of macros or memorize buttons. You just more or less have to know X amount of buttons on a controller. So I do miss the simplicity of that. But that's really my top 2-3 things that I would say are the biggest differences off the top of my head.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, so number one, I have to piggyback off the simplicity of it. I mean, honestly, man, it is nice to just turn on your console and know it's going to work, Mm-hmm. Hey, okay, I'm about to play this game, and that's it. The only exception to that is, downloading and installing updates and patches, and whenever you have to install a game. But that's only new to this console generation of the last 7 years. That's it. Prior to that was never really a thing. So yeah, it was really only this generation that had that as a negativity or as a negative. But PC has it too, so it's just part of the gaming right now. So yeah, the beautiful thing about console gaming is it is plug and play. Your average soccer mom can walk into a Walmart, pick up a console, take it home, and figure it out for little Timmy. And that's not a negative or anything. That's a positive. PC requires you to have a little bit more tech knowledge. So I fully agree with you on that. But I'll also add into one thing that I love about console gaming that just PC gaming kind of doesn't give you is the couch co-op experience. So this couch behind me right here, number one, I have this nice gaming chair that I bought a while ago, and it's very comfy and I love it, and it's the best computer chair I've ever had. That couch, hands down, is far more comfortable than this chair will ever be. It just is. Mm-hmm. And I love sitting on that couch and just kind of relaxing and just with the controller in my hand and just enjoying some video games in front of me. I love that. It's easy. It's not stressful. And then what's great too is that people can sit next to me and we can do a local co-op game. We could do Mario Kart, we could do Mario Party, we could do Halo Master Chief Collection, we could do Gears of War. While local co-op play is not as prominent as it used to be, it is still a thing, right? It's still there, and that's not really something that people do on PC. So that's another big benefit I would say that console really has. And then the other thing I would probably say about the console thing is just I don't know. I mean, this. Let's see what else. Obviously, there's the exclusives, but you're gonna have that on any platform. I mean, PC has
Right.
exclusives. Um, yes, the controller's a benefit, but also there's a support, man. You know, like my Xbox 360 had the red ring of death, so I was able to send that in and get a new one.
Yeah, that's a
And
good point.
which I mean, and then my Xbox One X, I came and visited you one weekend, and in the middle of gaming, it started running really loudly. And when I got back, I had to send it off to Microsoft to get fixed. It took 2 weeks to get it back, but I got it back, and it didn't cost me anything. Excuse me. And it came back. It was good as new, and it's been fine ever since without any issues. You could say, well, doesn't a PC do that? Well, yes and no. A PC does offer support and warranties, but it's on like 20 different parts, right? So like
Right.
everything's different, right? Like right now, if my CPU has an issue with it and if it's under warranty, I would send that into AMD, but if my AIO has an issue with it and it's under warranty, I have to send it into Corsair. So you're having to work with
Mm-hmm.
multiple companies there. It's not like a one size fits all. So yeah, I mean, console definitely has some advantages that PC just doesn't have. Um,
Right.
yeah, and what are I guess let's talk about. So what are some positives of PC?
Oh, well, I mean, pretty much PC gives you unlimited power, so to speak. I mean, you can do whatever you want with it. You can, mid max it as much as you want. You can add components as you want. You can upgrade the RAM as much as you want. You can upgrade CPU as much as you want. That's the thing I like about it is you literally can do whatever you want. Um, I didn't realize how limited I was on console until I got on the PC and then went back to console a few times, and I was like, dude, I mean, man, if only a console had a little bit of a stronger CPU, or if only games were more designed to go above that 30 frame per second threshold, which this fall or whenever the new consoles come out, that'll all change. But inevitably, what's going to happen is, the bridge this time will be a lot closer than it's ever been. But eventually, where the bridge is maybe like here, like PC just slightly above console, is going to end up going up again, pretty substantially. So, I mean, just because when the new graphics cards comes out, it's just going to make the everything else just shoot up for all the parts of a PC. But anyway, parts and components aside, um, you know, the one thing I will say is I can play whatever game I want, because we are before, I mean, and it's not 100%, but before we were not exposed to a ton of games because we were limited on PC. We were limited to console because what would happen is we would see this awesome game, like for example, like Escape to Tarkov. I mean, that I've been playing. We'd see these awesome games and we were like, dude, that game looks awesome. You know what I mean? I want to try it. But then we'd be like, oh, it's on PC. You know what I mean? Or it'd be like, oh man, we want to play this Sony game, but it's on Sony. But we can actually, if we wanted to, get access to Sony titles, which is actually really nice. So I think that that's just the overall flexibility of being on PC is phenomenal. Because I really do enjoy the fact that like we can actually do whatever we want for the most part. And then the last thing I will say about it is I just enjoy, right now I got my two monitors set up. I enjoy being able to multitask and do multiple things on a PC, like because on console I'd have to have a laptop set up, which is a separate entity, you know what I mean? So it wasn't as smooth as of a transition. And just like having all of that at my fingertips and then being able to game on top of that is just, oh my goodness. I mean, like being able to game, have YouTube going, all integrated into the same hardware. Oh, it's just so nice. I mean, compared to how I used to be able to do it on consoles. So I don't know, just like, I enjoy the flexibility, the customization, and overall just the accessibility that we have with being on a PC now.
Right, I gotcha. Yeah, so I mean, for me, some of the pros of PC, I've shared the story obviously multiple times now. I mean, mostly with you, but it'd be the first time that these people, our new viewers, hear it. So,
Yeah.
for me, so I was a diehard console gamer for the longest time. I got consoles right back there in the shelving unit,
Mm-hmm.
and I was mostly an Xbox guy, and for me, E3 2019 is really the straw that broke the camel's back because, it's the Xbox Games Conference, and Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, came out and spent 10 minutes talking about PC and just everything that they're doing for PC and how Game Pass, which was so amazing, was now going to PC, and all exclusives were going to be available on PC day one. And so finally the light bulb went off, and I realized, I'm like, okay, like if everything's going to be on PC, then what's the reason for me to be on console at this point, or on Xbox rather. I'm like, because now I can get the same games, but I can have better graphics, better resolution, mod support, and I can customize the PC to be whatever I want it to be. If I want a black or blue or black and blue or a white and blue or a pink and yellow and purple PC, I can have that. With console, you can't do that. You're tied to this one black box, unless of course they release a white version, then you get the white version of it. And every now and again they'll do a custom limited edition of one, but in this console generation that wasn't as as common as other console generations, especially for Xbox. Every time they did a custom console, they did it as a giveaway. You couldn't even buy it, and that was something else that drove me crazy. So I mean, really, all the reasons I switched to PC in the story that I just told you are really just advantages that I see that PC has that console does not have and never will have. Again, PC is always going to have that better frame rate. It's always going to have better resolution, better graphics, assuming you as the consumer have spent the money to buy the parts to have those things, right? Now, obviously, if you build a PC today and then you never, ever, ever upgrade it, you can't really expect to have the better performance than consoles in 15 years from now, assuming consoles are still a thing at that time. But you get the point of what I'm trying to say. So yeah. And then the other thing I would say too, real quick, is games are cheaper. That's actually a benefit I wanted to hand over to console that I forgot to mention. A benefit for console is that consoles are cheaper than PC. They just are. I mean, now you can build budget PCs, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, if you're getting into PC gaming and you really want to get all the benefits that PC gaming offers, like the better frame rate, the better resolution, the better graphics, you're going to need higher end parts to really have that. So you're going to be spending more than what you would spend on any console. So that is another benefit for consoles, that consoles are cheaper. But the other benefit for PC is that the games are cheaper on PC. They just are.
No, that's true. I mean, I think that just the games are cheaper, and then like I said, the only thing kind of tying it into what I saw on console is just that idea of having to just play the games for fun is hard because we had this discussion about the achievements. Is that I desperately miss that on PC because it's just you feel like you're missing something whenever you're playing a game and you don't see that notification popping up that hey. You know what I mean? I did something good in the game. I know that seems stupid, but I mean, it's true. I mean, or I accomplished something. So, like I said, I think that, because of the limitations of, how many launchers you have to use for PC, we're probably never going to have that same achievement ecosystem that we did on Xbox. So I will forever miss that. However, I will take the customizing ability, the accessibility, and the flexibility of a PC any day. I mean, we would not be able to do what we're doing now on a console. That's just the way it is. I mean, we're able to do so much more on a PC than we've ever been able to do. And I'm forever grateful for going to PC, because at the end of the day, where I have gamed on PC in the past, I was always a full-time console gamer. And now that I'm actually on PC, I never want to go back. I mean, because I'm so used to it now. I will eventually get an Xbox Series X, but I'm going to get it for a discounted price. And I'm also going to, play it sparingly. I'm not going to sit there and invest a ton of money into it, But I want one. I do love consoles. I think that they have a place in gaming. I don't think that there should be this big divide. But at the same time, if I had to pick, I would 100% pick PC every time, at this point.
I think really we're at the state now to where okay, if you're gonna have your exclusives as a company, fine, we respect that. But everything at this point should be crossplay. If it's gonna be a multi-plat, it should be crossplay. And Call of Duty just proved it. Halo Reach is proving it right now. The
I agree.
the whole argument with mouse and keyboard is superior than controller, blah blah blah. That's out the window. I can't tell you how many times I used to say, man, like, let me go up against some, mouse and keyboard guys and, see what happens. And people would always be like, that's never going to happen. And two, if it did, you would get annihilated because, mouse is so much superior than a controller. And it is to a wide margin. But here's the thing. What developers have done is, controllers already have aim assist turned on to begin with. So what they have done is they have increased it even higher. So that it can be more on par with a PC, a mouse and keyboard. So with that being said, you got guys right now doing crossplay on PS4, Xbox One, and PC, and the guys on controller are outperforming some of the guys on PC. So that's completely out the window. So why do I say that? I say that to say this: going forward, if it's a multi-plat title that you can play with friends, crossplay should be a thing.
I agree.
Xbox should no longer be locked to Xbox, and PS4 or PlayStation should no longer be locked to PlayStation. PC shouldn't be locked to PC. Everything should be cross-play at this point. And then if you got a buddy that wants to play on Xbox and Xbox only for whatever reason, but you want to play on PC, it's not a problem. It's not a problem because you have your platform, he has his platform, but now you can both play the same game, and you don't even have to talk about the platform. And that's the way it should be, man. This whole thing, like, you're locked to this platform, you're locked to this platform. Like, it's 2020. People need to get over that, man, and just move forward.
Right? No, I couldn't agree more. I can't stand the not having crossplay. But I think that this new console coming out, or these new consoles coming out, will actually start enabling that a little bit more because the hardware just hasn't been there for consoles for so long. I mean, I'm actually really still surprised that Call of Duty was one of the first games, if not the first game, I can't remember. I mean, but it was one of the first ones to actually allow crossplay. I mean, at least a AAA title. I mean, and honestly, I thought Call of Duty would be the last one. But you see how it's worked there. I mean, it's not been bad. I mean, I'm getting mowed by controller people and vice versa. I mean, it doesn't feel like, oh, well, it's obvious that dude is playing with mouse and keyboard. Does that make sense? Whatever formula Call of Duty did this year, despite how I feel about the game, because the game is about average to me, but I mean, I can't argue that their crossplay has been pretty much flawless. I mean, I get on there and I clearly I can't tell if I'm playing with controller or mouse and keyboard people. I just can't. I mean, just if I'm being completely transparent. But I think that, starting with this new console generation, we should start to see, based on the proven what Call of Duty has proven so far, is that we will start seeing more of this in the future. Where we might start seeing a little bit of a difference with that is maybe we won't ever see RTS style games on console the same way, especially with crossplay. But I mean, shooters. I mean, there's absolutely no reason why shooters at this point can't be crossplay.
Right. I mean, World of Warcraft's never going to go to Xbox, right?
Exactly.
But I mean, there's going to be limits. But at the end of the day, I mean, the barriers that have been put in place for so long, it's time for some of those to start to come down just a little bit. So yeah. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm fighting a cold right now. But yeah, so getting back into it. So talk about some of the pros of both, right? I mean, obviously, both console and PC have some really good positives, right? They're both, good, solid platforms to play on, and there's definitely, like you said, there's a place for both in the industry. I think overall PC has more positives than what a console can offer. But let's hop into some of the cons. I'll kick this off, and I'll start with PC, and then from there, you chime in on it, and then lead into console. So for me, some of the negatives on PC, no doubt, we've already mentioned it, is the tech support, man. Every day you got first of all, Microsoft, if you ever hear this, stop making us do a security update every day. I'm so tired of doing that. I'm so tired of Windows security updates, right? So you always have, everything's divided, right? You have to update the BIOS on your motherboard. You have to update your operating system for Windows 10. You have to update the drivers on your graphics card, right? And then you have to update any of the games you're playing, right? And so like there's so much that goes into it. You have to, and if any one thing is not up to date, sometimes that could cause other things to not work properly.
Right.
And so that's a problem. And then you finally get everything up and running, and then AMD or NVIDIA will release a driver update, and it will break everything, and now everything's not working again, and that becomes a problem as well. And then the last thing I'll say real quick, I mean, there's more cons, but I want to save some for you to talk about. The last thing I'll say too that I don't really like about PC gaming are the launchers. And in fact, I'd tell you this. You know what? Give me more tech support if that means taking away the launchers.
Oh yeah,
and
I agree.
And for some of you out there who might be watching this, you're like, what's a launcher? So all right, look, when you hop on Xbox right now, you have the Xbox Live Store, and that's where you buy all of your games, right? And then you have your library. You hit play, you play, and you're done, and that's it. PlayStation, you go to the PlayStation Store or the PSN network, whatever it's called, and same thing. You have one store. You buy all your games from that one store. You have your library. You play. That's it. PC does not work that way. So you have Steam, which is like the majority. It covers the vast majority of the games out there,
right?
And it's like
True.
universally like the favorite launcher, right? Then you had the Windows Store, which was so pathetic for so long that nobody really took it seriously. So Microsoft has started to put their games on Steam, and in addition to that, they actually released the Xbox Game Pass app for PC, and that's where you get a lot of those games now too. So like the Windows Store is barely used anymore. And then you have Epic Game Store. You have Battle.net if you want to play Call of Duty. You have whatever EA has, like the Origins or whatever. You have the Ubisoft Uplay. Twitch has its own launcher now. I mean, the list goes on and on, man. I mean, you got GOG. Launchers for days. Like, what sucks is that you could literally have like, man, these are my top 5 favorite games of all time, and then you have one launcher for each game.
Right.
And it sucks because like it turns into having like tons of applications running in the background while you're playing your game, which is just hogging resources. And the launcher has to be running if you're going to play the game. Anyway, so I digress on that. Let me let you chime in for a little bit. Go ahead.
No, I agree 100%. I mean, I agree to all your points. I will say, like for me, the graphics cards, have been an issue for me. Like, I mean, it's kind of funny because, AMD and NVIDIA and Intel are really the all major manufacturers for CPUs and graphics cards right now. So anyway, when you're looking at it, it's funny because like AMD has made a lot of strides in the graphics card community. You know what I mean? So we went with AMD, right? And their CPUs are amazing though right now, top of the line for the price per performance. But I mean, for me, like Erock has had little to no issues with his graphics card, but I've had a ton of issues with mine. You know what I mean? So like that's the thing about PC that's funny is we have pretty much identical PCs, except I have a few differences and he has a few differences, but the graphics cards are the same. But I've had so many more issues. Now I got to work and run it perfectly fine. But I mean, I had to troubleshoot so many little things that I just had no idea what I'm looking for, and I had to uninstall the GPU drivers and do this and do that, and like it's just. That's the stuff that, just going a little bit more detail about it, just like, that we're talking about, when we're saying like, you have to like basically become a computer scientist in order to understand how to run a PC sometimes, because especially if you want to run it good, if you don't care, and it runs like crap and you just never notice FPS drops or, just different, computer issues and you just don't care and don't notice, you're never going to really, learn anything. But if you really care about getting the max amount of performance, you're going to dive in. What I will say too is kind of speaking on top of that is when you have an Xbox or a PlayStation, you send it into the wherever it is. And the worst thing you can lose is your games, right? If like, okay, well, let's say they need to replace it, you got to reinstall all your games, right? That's the worst thing, right? With a PC, like what I had a problem with is if your OS drive goes out, you're screwed. You got to redo your entire PC. It's just not. I mean, you have to have a flash drive with Windows, and you got to. It's like a whole day's work. I had that happen to me. My OS drive went out, and then you know what I mean. I had to like redo everything. So for me, like it's just kind of like for me, it's just PC sometimes feels like high risk, high reward. You know, like you are more or less like really you're really going to see a ton of rewards and benefits from being on PC. But man, when you have some bad stuff happen, it goes bad. You know, it feels like one thing after another. You know, so that's the thing I do miss about console with that. You know, for sure. But I mean, overall, like I said, I agree with every single thing you said about the launchers. I mean, I can't stand them. I mean, I uninstalled several of them just because I don't really ever plan on playing games on there with them. I mean, sometimes I will, but I mean, if I ever do, but for the most part, I try to stick to just Steam and Battle.net, and that's it. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, it's just hard, dude. There's like, I mean, 9 million launchers. It feels like every game wants their own launcher because they want a piece of the pie.
Yeah, you know? I mean, it comes down to, well, as with everything, right? It kind of comes down to money, right? You know, developers are just like, well, hey, or publishers say, hey, we're just gonna sell our game through our storefront so that we get 100% of the proceeds. But like, I would love to know what the deal is on console, because it's hard for me to believe that on PC when they sell a game, like on Steam, for example, they have to give Steam a slice of the royalty, right? But yet on Xbox they don't, on PlayStation they don't, on Nintendo they don't. See, that's where that's kind of where I'm having a hard time. I'm like, surely you have to, you know, give Xbox a royalty for putting your game out there, right? Same thing with PlayStation and Nintendo. So you should already be. Why don't you just hash out the same deal with Steam or something? I don't know, but anyway. But at the end of the day, you know, money talks, as they say. So. All right, so lead us off into consoles, I guess. Like, what are some negatives about consoles?
Oh man, I mean it's just hard. Like, I mean, because I love my Xbox so much, but it's just so slow. I mean, I just can't. I mean, I know that they're getting the SSDs, which is great, and the Series X, which is great. I know that they're going to be able to finally have at least 60 frames plus on the games. But right now, going to an Xbox One X, I mean, like it's just hard for me. Like, I mean, there's some games that it's not, but I mean, it's just loading. The game's loading. You know, the fact that you feel like you're running in quicksand. You know, really, I mean, there's very few games that I want to play with controller now. I mean, I know that that's you know, weird for me to say because I played with controller for so long, but I love the macros and the things you can do with a mouse and keyboard. It's complicated, but you can really do some cool stuff. So I don't like the limitations of consoles anymore. My mind has been expanded to understand that, man, there's such a bigger market and bigger things you can do out there, and you're limiting yourself to a console. But I will say that it's just, I understand because it is so expensive to be on PC, why people go to console. However, you know, the one thing I will say is if you can get a PC and you have a choice between a PC and a console, you should go PC, because even if I know several YouTubers who play most of their games with controller, but they have it on a PC. You know what I mean? Because they just like the ability to play on the higher frames and load games faster and things. You know what I mean? But they still use a controller. I mean, personally, I think that's a waste. But at the same time, like that's my opinion. But at the same time, I'm not going to judge them for doing that. I mean, I understand that they want the higher graphical fidelity. The other thing too is the limitations on storage, because even with the new consoles coming out, is that we've got 1 terabyte inside the console, and then we've also got a memory card terabyte thing coming out that you can add to it. That's not a lot of space. Call of Duty right now on PC is like almost 200, is over 200 gigs right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's just one game.
Yeah.
So you're talking about like you're trying to have like maybe 4 or 5 games on there, and they're going to take up an entire storage space. And then if you have to do any external hard drives that are outside of you know what I mean, outside of the system, it's going to be significantly slower. Not to mention with the Series X, this all sounds great because you can have all of your Xbox Series X games on not only the console but this little external hard drive that you plug in. But if you do an actual external, USB drive, you can only run Xbox One games off of that. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it feels like with console, there's always like, oh, all these great things, but you know what I mean? Like, there's always a but, and I'm just tired of it because, like,
Yeah.
with PC, yeah, there are some buts, but I mean, there are ways around those buts. You know what I mean? Like,
Also,
yeah.
with PC, it allows you. I mean, again, you have to be techie, but like, if you really wanted to, PC actually allows you to you can code and write your own stuff, right? Like, I
Right.
mean, like very few people do it, don't get me wrong, but technically speaking, if you're playing a game and you love it, Skyrim, Fallout, whatever it is, and that game allows for mod support, you can go write your own mod to do whatever the heck it is you want that game to do.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can use it. I mean, it's amazing. But yeah, no, talking about the consoles real quick, going into some of the negatives on that. So you mentioned something about people using controller on PC. I will admit this real quick. I've been tempted to use controller multiple times since I've been on PC. And I've only used it on one game and one game only, and that was Ori and the Blind Forest. And again, this kind of goes back to, I just think some games that are on PC, you can tell that they were not designed to be PC.
NBA 2K20 is a perfect example. They even advise in a big warning box to say, don't use mouse and keyboard, use a controller.
Right.
You know what
so
I mean?
Just because you're on PC doesn't mean you should be using a controller. NBA 2K20 is a perfect example of that, right? Mm-hmm. Where like even the developers are telling you, dude, you need to use a controller on this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So and what I'm going to say is just because you're on PC, it doesn't mean you have to use mouse and keyboard. You can use a controller. Anyway, so like Halo Reach, I was playing that today, and I was really tempted to whip out my controller because man, like I could tell, I'm like, even with some of the macros, it's like that game was built in 2010 for the Xbox 360 and the Xbox 360 only. It was not meant. It was not meant to be used with a mouse and keyboard. So I made it work, but yeah, I just got so much muscle memory with a controller on that game. But anyway, but no, with console, man, for me, so there's a few negatives, right? So the first negative is, number one, I'm tired of always feeling lesser, right? Mm-hmm. So like either like this whole generation, we're on Xbox. We've been on Xbox. We had to hear about how PlayStation was dominating the sales, right? So we always felt lesser because PlayStation was on top. And then whenever the series or the Xbox One X came out and it was officially the most powerful console on the planet, and Digital Foundry was doing their analysis videos and it was ripping the PS4 Pro apart. Every game, the One X was just, eating it, and the PS4 Pro could not do as well. Even then, it then came down to, well, yeah, but my PC is still better. So it didn't matter. It didn't matter, what the situation was. Everywhere I went, every time I saw an article, every time somebody asked me, hey, what platform do you play on? And I would say Xbox. I would always have to hear, well, PlayStation's more popular, PlayStation's more successful, PlayStation has all the games. Or I'd have to hear, well, my PC's more powerful, my PC has a better frame rate, my PC can do that same game with better graphics. Like, I always felt lesser, right? And even if we were on PlayStation this generation, PC still would have been superior. So, like, we always felt lesser, right? So that's one negative, right? But then you might be the type of, dude, Eric, I don't care about that stuff. Like, come on, man, you're taking this way too far. I'm just trying to go work my 8 hours, come home, pop a beer, hit the couch, and play a video game. I don't really care about it. Like that might be who you are, and that's totally fine, right? But that's totally fine. But what I'm saying is, like, for me personally, that was my experience for the last 7 years being on Xbox. Like that's what I had to experience was being slightly lesser than somebody else. And then the other negative I have is exactly what you said. It's so slow. Mechanical drives. Yes, the new ones are getting the SSDs, but dude, it's 2020. You're just now getting an SSD? That doesn't even make sense, right? And then here's the other thing that doesn't make sense, right? Xbox One came out, terrible launch. Did a slight refresh with the Xbox One Elite, right? It was a little limited edition thing. You
Mm-hmm.
have one of them, and it has a solid state hybrid hard drive in it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
better than a mechanical drive, but it's lesser than a solid state drive.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a performance difference. We would play games together. You would always load in faster than me.
Yeah.
Always. And then I'm like, okay, this is cool stuff, man. So like the next big Xbox should have this, right? Well, the next big Xbox was the Xbox One S, which was a redefined slim version. And guess what? They went back to a mechanical drive. Okay, but Scorpio's coming. Xbox One X came out. That was Project Scorpio. Again, mechanical drive.
Mm-hmm.
And PlayStation, mechanical drive. You know, so it's just one of those things where it's like, there's no excuse for the mechanical drives to have been around as long as they've been.
Yeah.
That's just annoying. And then, yeah, when Digital Foundry does their analysis videos, like you're getting 30 frames, which is like literally the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you know anything about tech specs at all, like 30 frames is like the bare minimum.
Right.
Like available it's like bare minimum requirements. So it's one of those things where it's just it's kind of annoying. And then again, the games are cheaper on PC. So like that's the other problem I have. I cannot stand the fact that we had physical games for the longest time, right? And we never wanted to go digital. And you could see that the market or the industry was trying to push people to go digital. So a lot of times digital games would come out and they would actually be cheaper if you bought it digitally, because there wasn't most people were still buying physical, right?
Yeah.
Then we started to go digital, and now you can go and get the same game used cheaper somewhere like GameStop, like significantly cheaper,
right?
Because it's physical and they're trying to get rid of the inventory. But if you buy it digital on the Xbox Store or the PlayStation Network, you're paying a full $60 for it.
Mm-hmm.
And what's even more annoying is that that's still happening today on games that are 1 to 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you right now, and you know what? This might be a video I'll put up on my channel just for fun. I don't know. I guarantee you right now, I can pop my Xbox on, screen cap it for you, find a game that is fairly old. I mean, like 10, 12 months old, a year and a half old, 18 months old. And then take that same game, compare it to the Steam store, and I guarantee you the price will be night and day of a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Guarantee you. It will be significantly more expensive on the console. And that is something that does not make sense to me, because I'm like, this game is over a year old, and this game is significantly cheaper on other platforms. Why is it so expensive on the Xbox Live Store? Why? And then they make you wait to that special time of the year when Black Friday comes out, and then that's when you get the somewhat decent deals on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like an issue I have with it. And then I don't know. Here, you jump back in and say a few more things, because I could keep going. So go ahead. You say a couple more things.
Yeah, I mean, and then I guess I watched a YouTube video not too long ago, and it was pretty interesting. This guy was going on about PlayStation. He's a big PlayStation guy. Go figure. Right. Anyway, but no, he was dogging people for wanting there not to be a console war. He was like, dude, there better be a console war. I mean, he says that's what makes consoles special, because there's a console war. And at first I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And personally, I don't buy into that. I like more uniformity with that. That's just my personality. But he's kind of right. I mean, there's always going to be a console war, because that's the mindset, is we should be at war. Does that make sense? If you're on a console, you should hate PlayStation if you're on an Xbox, and you should hate Xbox if you're on a PlayStation, right? So,
right.
So for me, I got tired of that, because PC is the middle ground. Everybody wants the PC community on their side, so they're going to be giving all these games, a chance on PC. Which that's one thing I'll get into about a negative that I missed on PC is the Game Pass, and you've mentioned this many times. Is dude, the Game Pass games are ridiculous. There are some games that should be available on PC but are not, and there's some games that should be available on Xbox but they're not. You know what I mean? Because they've got exclusives for both for right now, and I don't understand why. One of the biggest ones, even though I don't really care about it, is Minecraft. Why is Minecraft not on the Game Pass but it's on the Game Pass for Xbox? You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, I mean, that makes no sense because Minecraft is a PC game. So, I mean, that's one of the negatives for me that I'm looking at, like, is, the launchers aren't, the launchers aren't very similar in that regard. But,
well, they're not consistent, right?
Yeah, they're not, yeah, exactly. They're not lined up, you know what I mean, so to speak. But, yeah, I don't know. Like I said,
well, it's the same thing right now. The Witcher is available on Xbox for Game Pass, but it's not available on PC for Game Pass. Why?
Right, exactly. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. So, I don't know. Like I said, just kind of going back to it, it's just it feels like that there was a lot of pressure that, like, if I ever told somebody I was on Xbox, they'd be like, "Oh, you Xbox peasant," or if somebody heard that this person was on PC, the Xbox guys should be bashing the PC. I don't like that. I mean, like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But at the end of the day, like, it's just always going to be there. So, like, I feel like that being on console, there's like almost this pressure that you should hate the other side.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's almost like the political field. That's just the way it is. You should always hate the other side.
Well, I feel like you're gonna have that. I mean, well, you do have that in everything, right? I mean, like if you're I don't know, like back in the day, if you were a Lakers fan, you're supposed to hate the Celtics, right? Or
right.
if you're a Celtics fan, you're supposed to hate the Lakers.
Back in the day, that's still to this day.
Yeah, still to this day, right? So I mean, like you're always going to have your teams, and you're supposed to hate the arch enemy, if you will. And I mean, PlayStation is the enemy of Xbox, and vice versa. But going back to what that guy was saying, I mean, like I said this in the last episode. Competition is good for us as consumers.
It is.
I mean, because look, Xbox, as much as I love Xbox, objectively, they blew it in 2013. They had a terrible press conference. They did a terrible launch, and they shot themselves in the foot. And if people would have came out and bought their consoles by the millions anyway, they wouldn't have learned a lesson, and they would have kept going on the same trajectory. But because people said, you know what, I don't like what you're doing, I'm going to go buy your competitor, and they skyrocketed PlayStation, that forced Xbox to make big changes. And then we got Phil Spencer, and then we got all the amazing things that we got after that. The Elite controller came after that. The purchasing of multiple first-party studios came after that. Getting rid of the Kinect came after that. Lowering the price came after that. The Xbox One Elite, the Xbox One S, the Xbox One X came after that. Now we got the Series X on the way. Game Pass came after that. Like, all the best things about the Xbox brand today that people know and love came after those changes were made, which were only as a result of people leaving the Xbox platform and going and buying the competitor. So competition is good for the consumer at the end of the day. But it would be nice. 100%. Yeah, it just would be nice if, a lot of people on the internet didn't have to be a bunch of douchebags about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's just nice to be on PC because we don't have to deal with that. The only thing we have to deal with is NVIDIA versus AMD, which is arbitrary at this point. Right. You know what I mean? Like, that's really the only things we have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, nobody really cares about that.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's like, I mean, at the end of the day, people just respect you have a rig. I mean, it's just at the end of the day.
That kind of is. And I mean, look, we've kind of gotten out of the pros and cons of each. I mean, I think we've already talked about as much as we can talk about. I mean, look. Consoles are great. They have a lot of great value there. PCs are great. They have a lot of great value. Of the two, if you want the best of the best, you got to go PC. If you probably want, the best value, like saving money but still getting a great thing for your dollar, then console is probably the place to go for you. But they both have their cons, right? Neither one of them are perfect. But with that being said, I guess transitioning a little bit to what we were just talking about. What? I'm sorry. This is funny. What did you say? Because I just lost my train of thought. What was the last thing you said?
I don't remember.
Oh my goodness. Man.
I was talking. I was talking about PC. Does it? If you're talking to people about PC stuff and comparing AMD and NVIDIA. Right. People just respect you have a rig.
Yeah.
More or less it.
The PC community seems to be more supportive than the console community. Like, for example, no one, we've been on PC since October of 2019. No one comes in and says, hey man, what kind of PC do you got? Ah, you got a blah blah blah. That sucks. Mine is so much better. They're like, nah, man, that's great. Let me see your setup. Hey man, you know what you can do to make that better? If you take this and
Hmm.
move it here, if you upgrade this, if you install this mod, if you do that, like people want to support you, right?
Right.
Versus if you're on console, it's just, hey man, Xbox or PlayStation.
Hmm.
Xbox, you suck, get out of here. PlayStation, you
Hmm.
suck, get out of here. You know, that's all it is, right? So yeah, it does seem like the PC platform is a little bit more supportive.
Oh, I agree.
So far, yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, like the only thing that I will say is there's a little bit more of that elitist personality because everybody
Yeah.
just wants to drop that. Well, I get more FPS than you or something like that. I mean, but that's about it. I mean, outside of that, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
really.
But at the same time, I mean,
That's toxic.
you can't be too mad about it if it's factually true.
Hmm. Yep.
I
I mean, if
mean,
somebody has a 2080 Ti, I mean, there's no way we can say that our 5700 XTs really compare. I mean, that's just
right,
not. That's just reality.
right. Yeah, no. Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, like, yeah, I haven't really heard a whole lot of people. Yeah. Anyway, but the point, yeah. Anyway, so the point is, yeah. I mean, PC's great, console's great. I've really enjoyed my time on console. It hasn't fully come to an end. I mean, I'm still playing my Switch quite often. I love it.
Yeah.
I still play my Xbox a little bit. I just started, a newer game with a couple of
Hmm.
friends on there. But as we do move past this console generation and get deeper and deeper into the next one, I do foresee, like, from a console perspective, I'll primarily play Nintendo because Nintendo's going to be
Hmm.
Nintendo. They're not going to play nice
Yep.
with others, and they're going to keep all their crap locked down to the Nintendo ecosystem and say, hey, go buy our inferior hardware so that you can play our phenomenal game.
And people will do it
And
all
people, well,
day.
yeah, because you got to. I mean, look, dude, when it
Hmm.
comes, look,
You
when
got
it
to play that
comes to,
Pokemon.
dude, I love Pokemon. Look, when it comes to Nintendo first party titles, they are second to none.
Hmm.
Their
Hmm.
quality control process is out of
It's
this world.
ridiculous. That's
It is
good.
amazing. It is amazing. Okay, you can talk, like, you can almost never name a time, especially in this console generation, where Nintendo put out a crappy game from a technical perspective. Like,
Right.
they
Yep.
might have put out a game you didn't like, but like the game did what it was advertised to do. The game ran flawlessly, right?
Hmm.
You can't say that about Master Chief Collection on
Hmm.
day one. You can't say that about Assassin's Creed Unity on day one. You can't say that about any Call of Duty game on day one.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
always have server issues.
Hmm.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's not Nintendo, man. Everything runs well for them, but their hardware is inferior. It
It's
is.
so limited, man. I
It
just don't
is.
understand. I just don't understand. Like, you figure even Nintendo, since basically besides Atari, they were the originals, man.
Yeah.
You figured they would be the head of the market with
Well,
hardware.
I tell you what it is. When it comes to Nintendo, their problem is very simple. Actually, it's their philosophy.
Hmm.
Nintendo is, number one. It's my way or the highway.
Hmm.
You know, we're top dog. We've been in here the longest. We've been in here longer than anybody else, and that's very true. And you know, it's kind of like speaking to your grandmother or something, right? You
Hmm.
know, you try to tell your grandmother, "Hey, that's not the way the world works anymore. You have to do X, Y, and Z." Boy, don't tell me the way the world works. I've been here 80 something years.
Sure.
That. You know what I mean? Like, people get set in their ways, and they fail to see the changes that they need to adapt to. And
Hmm.
that's part of Nintendo's problem, man. Like, look,
Yeah,
they only just came out with an online network like
I
last
know.
year.
It's
Are you
crazy.
serious? Like, you're just now coming out with that? And then the online network sucked.
Hmm.
It sucked. Review Tech USA did multiple videos on it talking about, like,
Hmm.
guys, look, you got two competitors who have just done this flawlessly. Copy and paste. Do the
Hmm.
exact same thing they just did. But no, Nintendo, they have this philosophy where
They want to figure it out on their own.
they just want to do everything differently, man. Like,
Hmm.
why do I have to use my phone to do a party chat with you online?
Yeah, yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Party chat should be native to the system. And I think now it might be. I don't know. But the fact that at some point they wanted you to connect to your headset to a phone and connect to an app that connected to your Switch. Like, are you serious?
I know, it was awful.
Oh, dude.
And then,
Like,
it's just like, and even this kind of ties into the consoles, like, negativity side is like, even with Nintendo, is just like, they're so weird, man. I mean, like, the Switch is actually cool, but it's just quirky, man. I mean, like, in terms of the controllers and stuff like that, it's cool, but I mean, it's just not like, I don't know, it's just like, instead of like making a controller you hold with two hands, they've been into this whole, like, literally you had two pieces that you hold separately, especially if you want to do something on on TV, which doesn't make any sense to me. I'm just like, why? I mean, like, why do you have to do that? I mean, I get it, but I mean, it was cool when I was on my Wii and I was playing the bowling game, but that was the only time I can remember it was cool. You know what I mean? But after that, it's just felt like kind of niche.
Well, so here's the thing. So, and I'll weigh in a little bit on this here because so I actually own a lot of Nintendo products. Actually, now that I think about it, I have an SNES, I have a GameCube, Wii U, Switch, 3DS. So one thing I'll say is this: so with the Wii, it was cool at first. Then the Wii became the world's most popular dust collector, right? I mean, not a whole lot of people played the Wii hardcore. It very quickly ran out of its shelf life. Like, it hit 100 million units sold, which are 110 million, which is phenomenal. But it was mostly due to a couple of things. Number one, it was cheaper than a PS3 or an Xbox 360. Number two, it had Mario on it, and every family wants to play Mario. Number three, it was gimmicky because that was the year of the motion controls, and second to none, Nintendo did do the motion controls the best, right? So that was the year everybody was getting into the motion controls, so it took off. But once they hit their sales numbers, like, nobody went back and actively played it, right?
Yeah.
And then even in the beginning, like, you're using the two things you were talking about, like, you had your Joy-Con and then that little nunchuck thing that you would use. But
my goodness!
As I continued to get into games more and more and more, the nunchuck would go away, and I would just start using the Joy-Con more and more, and I would use it with one hand. That would happen more and more. And then the Wii U came out. And so, but overall, I didn't mind the Wii that much. I mean, as the console generation went on, I hated the graphics. I'm like, oh my goodness, this 480p is killing me. But other than that, they had some really good games on it, man. Mario Kart, Paper Mario, those games were phenomenal and in fact, there's still sometimes I even now want to go back and play it. They're good games despite the technical limitations. The Wii U had some really, really good games on it. But a lot of people never got to experience those games because the Wii U sold so poorly.
Yeah.
And that's why they're re-releasing all those games on the Switch. And but the Wii U's problem was that big, gigantic gamepad. It was one controller. It wasn't two. Lot. It wasn't two controllers. It was one controller. But the controller was like this freaking big, dude. And, they wanted you to take this tablet around, and everybody thought the Wii U was an accessory to the Wii. The marketing, the name was just terrible. So that's why I did well. It did horrible. The Switch. Let me talk about the Switch. Number one, despite our opinions, the Switch, people love it. It is a success. It's selling like hotcakes. Like, the sales numbers for it are staggering. Like, I'm not going to quote anything right now because I don't have the exact numbers, but like, I just heard a video recently where somebody went over the numbers, and considering how late the Switch came out in this console generation, and when you see where it is from a sales standpoint compared to the PlayStation and Xbox, it's mind-boggling, man. And currently, as of today, I just saw an article yesterday, Switches are apparently sold out everywhere.
Wow.
Because of COVID-19, and everybody's trying to, find something to play, something to do, so they're picking up Switches. Like, and then I have a Switch upstairs, and yes, it is a phenomenal console, man. You can plug it into your TV, play it like a normal console. It's great. You can take it on the go. That's great too. And what I can say is this. Initially, I was annoyed at the same thing you just said. Man, really, you're going back to two controllers? Why can't you just have one controller? Why do you have to be different? Why do you always have to do this? Why blah, 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 blah. Not going to lie. I love the controllers for the Switch. I love them. I know a lot of people don't know this. I'm a father. My son's 1 year old. I can't really do it now because he's a little bit more, hey, I want that. Let me touch that. Let me move. But when he was a little bit younger, I was able to actually sit back on my couch, play Pokemon, and I would put him in my arm. And if I had one controller, I'd kind of be all tight like this, and it wouldn't really work. But because I was able to break it apart, I had one controller over here in my hand, which was like way over here, and I had one over here, and I was able to play the game flawlessly without any issues. And
That's awesome.
They actually give you a little piece of plastic that's like this big. You can actually take the controllers and pop them in, and then you can play it like this, like one controller. So I mean, like the versatility of it is just phenomenal. But at the end of the day, I have a lot of problems with Nintendo. I think they're always behind. They're always behind on the times. They're very difficult, and their core company philosophy is honestly is the reason why they're a victim of that.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
100%, man.
Yeah, man. Anything else?
That's about it, man. I don't really have much else. I mean, we've pretty much covered everything.
All right. Stretching it out.
No, the victory.
Victory! We made it to the end.
We made it to the end of the podcast.
So,
Absolute chat.
So look, for you guys watching, I want to say this. First of all, thank you for the support and coming back and watching episode 2. If you haven't seen episode 1, be sure to go check that out. I promised in episode 1 that the quality would get better, and the quality is significantly better. My face is lighter. You can see me a little bit better now. Hopefully the audio is better. I haven't heard it yet. And, of course, whatever Max is doing over here at AflocFul of Babies, his setup looks sick. I'm going to be copying that for the next episode. I don't know what he did. I'll be sure to get with him after this. And so, yeah, but the quality will continue to get better. We have more equipment coming in. We're just waiting on Amazon to deliver it. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for sticking with us through all of this, and appreciate the support. Be sure to follow, like, subscribe. Check Max out on Mixer. He streams every day, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. And check out my YouTube channel. I'm going to have content going up on a semi-regular basis, and it's going to cover a wide variety of content from gaming to fitness, personal development, you name it. It's going to be all over. So, yeah, just appreciate the support, guys. Thank you so much. Max, any closing remarks?
You said it.
I said it.
Baby's out.
Baby's out. All right. I love it. Baby's out. All right, guys. Take care. All right. Bye-bye. Baby's out.